I stood frozen, the weight of her words crashing down around me like an avalanche. "I'm leaving you for a doctor," she had said, her voice trembling yet resolute. I wanted to scream, to shake her and ask if she really meant it, but instead I merely nodded, feeling my heart shatter into 1,000 jagged pieces. The man who had sworn to take care of her, to love and cherish her, was suddenly less than a stranger, overshadowed by the image of a flawless physician with a stethoscope draped around his neck. My mind raced through a myriad of thoughts. Who was this doctor? What kind of man could sweep her off her feet so easily? But I wasn't done yet. Deep inside, a flicker of determination surged to life. If she wanted a doctor, then that's exactly what I was going to become. Days stretched into weeks, a painful reminder of every moment I had spent with her, nurturing our love while believing it was unbreakable. I couldn't let her go so easily. I enrolled in a pre-med program, fueled by adrenaline and ambition, drowning my heartbreak in textbooks and late-night study sessions. It was therapeutic in a way to channel my pain. I couldn't afford to wallow in grief. I needed to rise like a phoenix from the ashes of my personal life. The months flew by, a blur of anatomy exams and biology lectures. Each night, I immersed myself in the rigor, sweating over cadaver dissections, memorizing every bone and sinew of the human body. I often caught myself imagining her smiling face, filled with admiration for the man who had embraced her dreams. With every hour dedicated to my studies, I envisioned her rolling her eyes in disbelief, incredulous that I could transform into the man she desired. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was becoming a doctor to win back a woman who had sworn her heart to someone else. It was like a dark comet that I couldn't detach from, the thought of her with another man while I toiled away in libraries and labs, driven by a relentless thirst for validation. As the years passed, I faced challenges that made me question my resolve. There were late nights spent studying, scrubs soaked in sweat, and moments when I nearly broke under the pressure. Each failure, like a knife, would cut deeper into my already fragile heart, reminding me of the love I had lost, the future we had built together now existing only in my dreams. Yet these moments of doubt only fueled my drive. I wouldn't wallow in grief. I would harness this pain, transforming it into an obsession that gnawed at my every waking moment. The idea of her choosing someone better than me became intoxicating, a potent elixir that fueled my fire. Graduation came, a whirlwind of triumphant applause and celebratory hails. I had done it. I was officially a surgeon, a title I had carved from the pain of regret. The moment I slipped on that crisp white coat and greeted patients for the first time made every long night worth it. But there was still a void within me that no degree could fill. The thought of her being proud, of her looking at me with a glimmer of respect, was the elusive dream I chased now. With confidence, I strolled into the hospital, the excessive confidence masking my uncertainty. The smell of antiseptic and the sound of bustling nurses echoed all around me. It was overwhelming, but I had to embrace it. I couldn't think about her. I had to immerse myself fully in being the best surgeon I could be. Then one day, as I pushed the gurney down the sterile, white corridors, fate intervened. There she was, laughing with a group of doctors, her auburn hair curling around her shoulders, and her eyes sparkling in delight. My heart lurched as if it were caught in a vice, and I felt a mix of anger and longing wash over me. The doctor, her doctor, was right beside her, throwing his arm around her shoulder like he owned her heart. It was surreal standing there as my world came crashing back. I was no longer the man she left. I was a reflection of the man she had chosen over me, and it sickened me. Yet as I inhaled deeply, I realized something. She had no idea who I had become, and in this crowded place of healing and life, nestled behind the walls of my heart, my bachelor's degree was just a cover. I was no longer a heartbroken man. I had morphed into someone who had survived their battle. As I approached with feigned confidence, our eyes met. For a brief moment, time suspended, and it felt like no one else existed. Her smile faltered, but the doctor remained oblivious, laughing loudly and causing a stir. As I introduced myself, something shifted. Uncertainty danced in her gaze, and I clung to it like a lifeline. Did she recognize the frail laughter hidden behind the confident facade? "Yes, I'm a surgeon now," I said, barely keeping my voice steady. I could feel her shock radiating through the air, yet the doctor wrapped his arm tighter around her, pulling her closer. It was a battle of egos without a single shot fired. But still, the truth was mine. I had turned into the very thing that had driven me to this point. Together, we navigated through small talk packaged in forced smiles. I felt myself teetering on the edge of agency and vulnerability, caught in a web of who I was and who I pretended to be. The realization that she had changed too, that she had moved on while I was busy reinventing myself, hit painfully deep. I couldn't bring myself to ask about her life with him. I'd lose the fleeting grasp I had on the power of our past. Then came the words that had the power to shatter my world once again. "I didn't know you'd become a doctor." The way she spoke my name, filled with surprise and nostalgia, sent shivers through me. My heart danced in rhythm with her recognition, intertwining our past and present in a provocative ballet. I sensed a flicker of hope, perhaps just a spark, igniting the remnants of what once was ours. "Well, times change," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. For a split second, I saw the uncertainty in her eyes, the shimmer of confusion storming beneath her perfectly curated facade. "You got what you wanted." My words slipped out before I could stop them, laced with bitterness, but I pressed on, masking my emotions behind a detached grin. If only she knew that this facade was my shield, a protective armor crafted from unrelenting heartache. As the doctor droned on about his new research program, I silently observed them, a couple exchanged in a world I no longer belonged to. The alarms beeped around me, a cacophony of hope and despair, but in that moment, I wished to retract the years spent within the sterile walls of academia. They had given me prestige but had not filled the empty spaces in my heart. After they walked away, I felt a mix of exhilaration and defeat overcoming me, like a double-edged sword. I was both a doctor and a shadow of who I wanted to be. Reality struck as I watched them disappear down the corridor, a twinge of longing intertwined with the pang of acceptance. Maybe I had become what she wanted, but was it what I needed? In my mechanical efforts to heal others, I had forgotten the gravity of my own heartache. As I made my way back to the operating room, the weight of my reality settled down. My life as a surgeon would thrive onward, getting filled with stories of healing, of dedication, yet I still felt a part of me lost in the void. I became a man of the scalpel, stitching up external wounds, but inside I found myself yearning for someone who wasn't mine anymore. I had become what she needed, only to realize the truth. I hadn't transformed into a healer solely for love, but rather to prove that I could be better. In stealing those years, I had crafted a cage around my heart, masking vulnerability with surgical precision. Each time I entered the operating room, I could feel the ghost of my former self lingering like an uninvited guest. The patients I encountered became a distraction, a way for me to channel my focus onto something tangible. I poured myself into my work, treating trauma and emergency surgeries with unmatched fervor, but during those quiet moments as I lay in my small, lonely apartment, surrounded by medical textbooks and surgical tools, the ache of loneliness would seep through the cracks. My mind would wander into what could have been. One evening, I found myself sitting at the local bar with a couple of my colleagues. We'd just finished a grueling shift, and amidst the laughter and camaraderie, I found solace in indulging in the moment. A few rounds of drinks deep, the conversation inevitably veered toward relationships. "Do you ever feel like you're just going through the motions?" I asked, pushing back my glass of whiskey as the burn of alcohol settled in. My friends paused, their faces reflecting the gravity of my words. "Of course," one of them nodded, leaning back against the bar stool. "Life can be repetitive, especially in our line of work. But you have the power to change it." "Maybe," I sighed. "But how do you change something that feels like a part of you? Learning to care about people again? It's hard when you can't seem to find a reason to care about yourself." Their expressions shifted to understanding rather than pity, and I felt a deep connection, if only for a brief moment. Each of us was wearing our own battle scars like badges of honor, but we were united in our yearning for something more, a sense of validation and purpose in a career that often demanded the impossible. After my friends left, I remained at the bar, nursing my drink and allowing my thoughts to wander aimlessly. In that fragile hour of solitude, I wondered if I had lost touch with the essence of who I was, not just the doctor trying to win back a love that had slipped through my fingers, but the man who could be happy on his own. Determined to navigate this labyrinth of emotions, I took a step toward a greater understanding of myself. I didn't need to chase after someone who had chosen another. I needed to rediscover the joy of simply existing. So, as weeks morphed into months, I dedicated weekends to volunteering at free health clinics, providing aid to those who couldn't afford it. Each patient who walked through those doors had their own burdens, their own stories etched onto their faces like roadmaps. Some were seeking immediate medical attention, while others were simply looking for a warm smile and someone to talk to. The connections I forged in those clinics weren't superficial. They were raw and real. I didn't wear the white coat as a badge of honor. Instead, I wore it as a symbol of humility, a reminder of why I chose this path in the first place. It was here that I found pieces of myself that I thought were long gone. In one particularly eye-opening experience, I met a young woman named Sarah, a single mother battling a chronic illness. She came to the clinic looking frail and defeated, and her eyes revealed the toll life had taken on her. During her exam, as we spoke about her health issues, her tenacity and spirit resonated deeply with me. "Dr. Walker," she said, her voice steady despite her physical fragility, "I just want you to know that every day is a battle, but I wake up for my son. He gives me strength. I can't focus on my suffering when I have his laughter lighting up my world." As she spoke, I felt a profound shift within me. I realized that while I had been consumed by despair, the world was still full of hope and resilience. Here I was, channeling my energy toward a fixation on losing love, when I could instead be filling my heart with the stories of those around me. Sarah became a frequent patient and, over time, a dear friend. Her laughter resonated in the clinic and it was infectious. As I treated her ailments, I often found myself sharing snippets of my own life, the heartache of lost love, my journey to become a doctor, and the growth I hoped to achieve. In return, she shared her stories, tales of motherhood, ambition, and the endless battles she fought daily. I learned things about life that school never taught me. I began to understand that healing wasn't merely fixing physical ailments. It involved nurturing the spirit, encouraging and cultivating strength within one another. As our friendship blossomed, I felt my perspective shifting. I no longer defined my worth through my achievements or the love of a woman who had moved on. It was in these quiet moments with Sarah and countless patients that I found my purpose rekindled. Still, the whispers of my past lingered like smoke from a distant fire. I would practice my skills with renewed clarity, but the emotional scars remained. Those memories of her laughter and love echoed in my mind. The trickling thoughts of my own inadequacies crept in and out, teasing me with uncertainty. One day at the clinic, I overheard a couple chatting. They were expecting their first child. I watched them, eyes aglow with excitement, and felt an unfamiliar pang of longing tighten in my chest. The world felt vibrant, the possibilities unlimited, yet I found myself trapped in a haze of emotional complexity. As the months continued to roll by, the healing I underwent during those volunteer days became evident in my soul. I was growing not only as a surgeon but as a person. The darkness that had once encapsulated me was being dispelled, slowly but surely. Then, one fateful day while I was attending a medical conference, I ran into her again. This time it was different. I was different. The aura of desperation that had surrounded me in our previous encounter was replaced by an air of calm confidence. I was no longer trying to impress her with my accomplishments. Instead, I focused on simply being present in the moment. "Hi," I said as she approached, a tentative but warm smile on my lips. "Hi, Dr. Walker," she responded, tilting her head slightly. An unfamiliar curiosity danced in her eyes. The way she said my name, filled with an odd mix of familiarity and distance, sent a ripple through me. "How's everything?" I asked, genuinely interested, reflecting on that moment from months ago when I'd felt so lost. "It's good, busy at the hospital." "You know how it is," she replied with an air of nonchalance, a slight spark in her eyes that intrigued me. As we talked, shadows of the past edged away, replaced by a calm acceptance of our realities. We exchanged pleasantries and contemplated our careers, almost as if we were two strangers reconnecting rather than former lovers. Then, something extraordinary happened. As the conversation danced back and forth between us, I discovered we shared similar views about patient care, rooted in empathy and understanding. She smiled, really smiled, when I shared my thoughts about our responsibilities as healthcare providers. "I really respect that, you know," she said, sincerity written all over her face. "It's refreshing to see someone approach medicine from the perspective of the patient." I was caught off guard, her praise prompting a flush of warmth at my cheeks. For a fleeting moment, I was reminded of a time when her laughter rang effortlessly in my ears and my heart swelled with pride in being her partner. Yet, as we discussed our patients, it became glaringly obvious that it was no longer a competition with the doctor. It was about contributing to something greater. I could feel a sense of peace washing over me, a breathtaking acceptance of our separate paths. Perhaps, at long last, I could see what I had achieved without the need for her validation. Eventually we parted ways, a lingering sense of camaraderie echoed in the air. I felt lighter, almost as though a weight had been stripped away, revealing a new layer within me, one that encompassed not just the scars of lost love but the echoes of laughter, companionship, and friendship. Driven by an insatiable desire to continue my transformation, my passion for medicine flourished. Every day became an opportunity to devote myself fully, helping others in unexpected ways. Months turned into a year, and as I walked through the hospital halls, I felt the crushing weight of my past dissipating. I learned to forgive not just her but myself too, recognizing that love is a complex journey filled with wonderful lessons. Moving on didn't mean erasing her from my life or diminishing our shared memories. It simply meant choosing to live for myself. And then came a defining moment, the day I would operate on a child suffering from a rare condition. It wasn't just another routine surgery, it was an opportunity to save a life. As I entered the operating room, a rush of adrenaline flowed through me. I wasn't just stitching wounds, I was breathing life back into someone who deserved another chance. As I worked meticulously, my mind wandered to Sarah, the single mother who had taught me that life's challenges can be met with unwavering resilience. For the first time, I understood the rewarding nature of my work. It was about healing not only bodies but also spirits, rekindling hope in uncharted territories. "Scalpel," I said, and it was placed perfectly in my hand. "Suction." The familiar chorus of commands rang out as my team fell into sync. Each moment became a dance, a symphony of collaboration rooted in the shared vision of preserving life. I drew upon every ounce of skill I had cultivated during my training, navigating through the delicate intricacies of the surgery with precision. And then, in that quiet space of focus, something profound washed over me, a sense of purpose akin to a vein of gold running through my core. As the surgery concluded successfully, I stepped out of the OR drenched in sweat but filled with a sense of fulfillment that eclipsed my previous bitterness. I didn't need her to validate my worth, this was enough. I had fulfilled my calling, my heart bursting with gratitude. Afterward, as I left the hospital, a sense of freedom enveloped me like a warm embrace. I was no longer the man defined by someone else's choices. I was a healer, a doctor, and forever a work in progress. The days continued forward, revealing new layers of growth within me. I began to embrace challenges, both professionally and personally, with greater openness, a willingness to accept whatever life served next. As I carried on this journey of self-discovery, I remained committed to volunteering regularly at the clinic, intertwining my passion for patient care with community engagement. It was here that I met people who were all navigating their own struggles, individuals united by the raw beauty of vulnerability and the desire to heal. Their stories echoed within me, reminding me of how far I had come and the inevitability of growth. The scars of heartbreak continued to shape my journey, but I began to see them as symbols of strength, evidence of the lessons I carried with me, shaping the man who stood before the world. I wasn't merely a doctor, I was a mosaic of experiences, joy intertwined with sorrow, strength intertwined with vulnerability, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Then came the moment when Sarah returned to the clinic, her health fluctuating but her spirit unwavering. She walked in with a smile, and I could see the light in her eyes illuminating the room despite the struggles that lay ahead. "Dr. Walker," she called out, her voice playful, "you're not getting rid of me that easily." I chuckled, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. Conversations flowed naturally as if no time had passed. With each visit, she brought warmth and laughter, encouraging me to meet each day with a renewed spirit without apprehension. Over time, our friendship deepened, cultivated through shared stories and dreams. It was in those moments that I experienced the joy of connection without the weight of expectations. I could appreciate her presence without feeling defined by wanting or longing. I learned to laugh with her, to dream of silly adventures, and to envision futures intertwined with possibility rather than the sting of past romantic failures. For the first time in so long, I began to feel lightness lingering in my soul, a newfound freedom in being fully present. Then came the day when I found myself standing before her, as our laughter subsided into comfortable silence. A simple moment filled with vulnerability unraveled between us, the kind that binds friendships with threads of authenticity. "Do you think we'll still be here in 10 years?" she asked, gazing into the depths of my eyes with sincerity. "Of course," I replied, my heart swelling with contentment. "We'll be here, sharing more laughter and stories, helping each other navigate the uncertainties of life." Her smile radiated, and in that instant, I realized that the depth of our connection had grown far beyond the initial wounds of betrayal or heartache. Together, we had flourished, transcending the barriers that had once defined our relationship. As the months transitioned into years, I finally understood that it wasn't about the idealized love I had sought or the emotional validation I had craved. True healing comes from embracing all aspects of life, the light and dark, those moments of struggle woven seamlessly through laughter and joy. And perhaps, amidst that journey, I had encountered something greater than romance. I discovered the significance of connection, the astounding power of compassion, and the profound understanding of our shared humanity. I stood firmly, no longer adrift in the wake of lost love but rooted in the present, ready to sail through whatever tumultuous seas lay ahead. I became a mentor to newly minted medical students, sharing not only knowledge but also the earnestness of navigating the world of medicine with kindness and empathy. I created an environment of open dialogue, emphasizing the need to cultivate emotional intelligence within the medical field, a mission fueled by my own transformative journey. As the years rolled on, I learned to celebrate not only my achievements but those of the patients I cared for and the community I had come to cherish. Every surgery performed, every life touched, all became a thread woven exquisitely into the intricate tapestry of life. Surrounded by friends I had built along the way, people who joined me in facing challenges, my heart resonated with a warmth that had eluded me for many years. No longer were my thoughts clouded by a singular pursuit of love, but welcomed a more expansive appreciation of the relationships I nurtured. Eventually, the day arrived when Sarah and I stood on opposite sides of the clinic, laughing as we reminisced about the journey that had brought us together. The shadows of our past no longer haunted us. Instead, they forged a deeper bond rooted in understanding, camaraderie, and friendship. "Dr. Walker," she teased, crossing her arms with a smirk, "we should write a book about our adventures." I laughed, shaking my head. "I don't think anyone would want to read about two doctors navigating life." "Speak for yourself. It's not every day you hear about love, loss, and rediscovery intertwined with medicine." Her laughter rang brightly. "It's true," I said, candidly reflecting upon how enduring relationships could heal us. "But it is a story worth telling, the journey toward self-discovery in the midst of chaos." And so, we delved deeper into conversations as we always did, reflecting on our paths toward personal growth. Little did I know that this dialogue would eventually morph into a passion project. A collaboration to pen the very essence of our shared experiences, emphasizing the importance of resilience in healthcare. In the years that followed, we poured ourselves into this endeavor, unearthing the stories of hope that resonated within patients and fellow healthcare professionals. It became a testament to the lessons we had learned, the significance of owning our experiences to foster connection, compassion, and healing. With every chapter that unfolded, I embraced what it meant to be truly human, warts and all. We realized that love did not solely dwell within the confines of romance. It resided in unexpected friendships, shared laughter, and the capacity to uplift one another in the face of adversity. And as the ink flowed onto the pages, our hearts swelled with gratitude, for life's trials had forged an unbreakable bond forever etched in our souls, encompassing a plethora of emotions that had ultimately led us to this moment. In the end, love took on new forms, a father-daughter bond, friendships built on trust, and the unconditional support of a community. And so, our lives intertwined, rich with every color of life's palette, vibrant and alive. As years continued to pass, I remained anchored in the understanding that my journey had shaped me but did not define me. I was no longer the man grieving the loss of a woman. I was a complete being, infused with the lessons that came from heartache, resilience, and companionship. With every passing moment, I cherished the realization that perhaps the most remarkable relationships are rooted not in fairy tales but in the unpredictability of shared lives, echoes of laughter, and endless hugs exchanged amidst vulnerable moments. And finally, as I found myself within the embrace of my personal experiences, I understood that love was simply a chapter, not the conclusion. It would always evolve, transforming along the journey of life, leaving me forever grateful for the trials that shaped me, the laughter that carried me, and the relationships that became the fabrics of my story. I was whole, reborn, renewed, and ready to face the horizon ahead.